As she mentioned, I mean, messaging is one of the oddest things. It's actually older than the web, and even in the electronic world, predates the web, ICQ, AIM, lots of messaging.
Bulletin boards.
Bulletin boards, and it kind of languished for a long time, and it was there, even SMS on your phones, all these things. And then, magically, in the last 2, 3, 4 years, it exploded and went from being amazingly boring to being really, really exciting to a lot of people. I think one of the great things about Glide is that you guys are really pushing the tech. I mean, the reason you're here today really is that you guys are pushing the technology in ways that were both inconceivable and practically impossible until fairly recently. And so I wanted to just, talk a little bit about that and then put a particular spin on the marketing aspect. Because again, I mean, messaging and marketing really didn't have much to do with each other for quite a long time. Now the possibilities are starting to get, I think, interesting. And so we'll go into a little of that. Just by background, I'll do your ad for you. Glide is based in Jerusalem, 3 years old, raised about $30 million in capital, and now has offices in Palo Alto,
New York. And Jerusalem.
So they're on the move. And I guess my first question would just be, there's a crazy big space right now. You've got, I just made a quick WhatsApp, Messenger, Skype, Snapchat, Instagram, on and on, Kik. Why do you guys think, what do you bring to the party? What's Glide's contribution?
Well, really what the main difference is that we're focused from the ground up on creating a video solution. We believe that the best way for two people to communicate is face-to-face communication. It's the reason why most of you are here today. It's the reason why people fly from one side of the planet to the other side of the planet for business meetings. When you see another person speak in their first language, not limited by any type of characters, you can connect with them and you can really understand what they're saying so much more than 160 characters or any type of emoji. So whereas we see that all other messaging products really came to allow people more ways to either send text and then we expanded into photo, nobody really cornered the market on video messaging. And that, like you said, was a technical problem.
Well, how do you differentiate video messaging from Skype or FaceTime?
That's a great question. So on one end, we have calling, where I ring you up, and you have to stop what you're doing in the real world, and then hop on the call with me, and we have a clear start and stop time. With messaging, the conversation is much more fluid. I can send you an SMS or a text message or even a photo. You can consume that immediately in real time, or you can consume it later. And that was really the paradigm that we brought to video messaging. We don't want to be a video call. We want to be an instant video message. If you're available to watch it in real time, you can watch it. But you don't need to.
Are there time constraints on any of this?
Yes, we limit each of our messages to 5 minutes, but you can send as many as you want.
5 minutes of video is a lot.
Yeah, but what it does is it allows people to express themselves without the constraint of something like a 30-second message or even a 10-second message. And you can rewatch the message as many times as you want, so you never have that fear of missing out.
Ads, marketing, how do you see that progressing? I mean, I think you've been said no ads. We're not doing ads.
Yep, we don't have any ads, but we do see the space for brands to use the power of video and face-to-face communication to develop intimate relationships with their customers, with the consumers and users of their products.
Isn't that just kind of like sending them a commercial?
Well, then it's about contextualization. If it's something that's general, I feel like it's a billboard, a video billboard that's being sent to me, then it's not personalized. But if it's actually contextual to who I am, where I am, what I'm doing, then it feels like it's a message to me, and then thus builds my relationship with the other organization.
And how do you do that? I mean, one-to-one marketing is very expensive. How do you, AI.
Absolutely. I think that's really where we're seeing, what are we talking about? We're talking about the evolution of messaging here. So from new methods of communication like video, and then also complementary technologies like artificial intelligence, really are going to couple together to solve these scalability problems of creating unique personalized experiences for consumers.
you've got an Apple Watch on, and I think it's fair to say you guys are bullish about wearables.
Oh, we're very excited about specifically about the Apple Watch and about wearables in general. It's very interesting to see as people move farther and farther away from a dedicated brick in their pocket.
Your app, the Glide app runs on an Apple Watch. Is it different from the desktop or other mobile apps? I mean, or is the Apple Watch one unique?
So we were actually the first company that built a native video player for the Apple Watch. So we can actually play Glide video on the watch. And we're very excited about 2016 as more players come into the wearable space.
But it doesn't have a camera, so how do you do a two-way?
Just you wait. There will be a camera on your wrist sooner than you think.
And so I'm gonna, like right now, if your thing were to ring right now and your wife was there from Jerusalem, what would happen? Her face would pop up on
Her face would pop up, and I would be able to press play, and I could watch the video, and then I can respond back with either a pre-recorded message or an audio message.
Is it real-time also?
Yeah, you can have real-time streaming from a wearable device.
Speaking of real time, I'm noticing we don't have a clock here, guys. So unless you want us to go on for the next hour and a half, we need to get a clock. But okay. Okay, so AI is one of the pieces that you see coming in.
Well, I see also with the adoption of e-commerce within the messaging space, it opens up a whole new frontier, really, for brands and companies to be able to market, direct marketing to individuals.
Let's look around. I mean, Snapchat Discover.
Oh, that's a great example.
What do you think about what they're doing?
So I really like Snapchat Discover. I think that it's a great way to consume content.
Explain what Snapchat Discover is, just for the people who don't.
Oh, so basically, if you swipe, I guess that's to the left, then what you get is a whole array of different companies that are creating content that you can watch. So I could watch MTV, I could watch a couple other things that historically I would have watched on an actual television. Now I can watch on my mobile phone. So it's really a focus on content discovery.
And what's the advantage of doing that in a messaging environment?
I think it answers the question of how do you use the product when you don't have anyone to talk to? So it's a complementary, almost side project within the application.
What's some other things that interest you in the messaging space? Other people doing interesting things that you see with a marketing?
So I think that I'm most excited about the general Internet of Things. And I really see how, if we look at how we viewed files or documents, that if my laptop broke, I lost all my writing. And then with Google Drive, now everything kind of just exists in the cloud. I see that we're moving in the same direction with Internet of Things in terms of communication and mobile communication. I'm no longer going to be focused on chatting primarily from my phone, but rather my television, my watch, my glasses, my car, maybe even my microwave. These are all going to be part of the messaging experience that I have, almost as this magical genie that follows me and just is listening to me all the time.
And so how does that work as a business model for you guys? But branded content? I mean, what's the obvious answers to that?
Well, from the brand's perspective, I think allowing brands to connect, to target specific users and develop relationships with them in a scalable manner with clear call to actions that then have a clear return on investment where they can make money or close transactions, that this is going to be very powerful within the messaging space. And we're already seeing it on many of the messengers that are in the forefront today.
Are you enough of a bull about messaging to see it? I mean, obviously among certain communities, young people, it's very, very, very big and very strong. Is it going to take some of the air away from, say, email?
I think so. I think that the latency involved in email is a killer. Is just eventually something that people are not going to be comfortable waiting for a response. The lack of presence, the lack of initial feedback, the file format of it with the headers and the footers and kind of that thread that you build with all those lines that end up if you've been forwarded a forward of a forward. So all of these kind of legacy elements of email are being repaired in the next generation communication, which is messaging.
Right. But how about the balkanization? I mean, this is one of the things that irritates me about messaging is not remembering who's on what. If I want to talk to you, the nice thing about email is I don't have to worry about whether you're on Gmail
It's
or
ubiquitous.
Yahoo Mail. It's ubiquitous. Everybody gets it. Everybody's got. How do you? It just seems like the messaging world is fragmenting in so many. If I were, let's say I were a marketer, well, I'm going to be restricted to the universe of Glide users, or I'm going to be restricted to the universe of Snapchat. I mean, it's kind of not very pleasant to have to build for 16 different things. How do you see that playing out?
I do see eventually that there will be a convergence, but I think that what you're expressing your frustration, and I think it's accurate, is that we are pretty far away, meaning within the lifetime of the circles of evolution of technology, before we'll really see a convergence. And that's a great thing because it allows for innovation like Glide. If there was only space for one messenger in the market, then you wouldn't be able to really push the envelope and try new things and experiment and fail quickly.
Is anybody working on a kind of a consolidated message reader that would allow you to, work in, just pick, well, let's send a Snapchat message to boom, and it all in a single environment rather than having to have 16 apps on your phone?
Yes and no. I've definitely seen, I think there's an XKCD that I remember from a few years back where they showed, what if we had there's 14 different standards. What if we made one standard that covered them all? And then next year they say, there's 15 different standards. What if we had one to cover them all? That every attempt that I've at least seen to converge them has had real challenges gaining any type of traction.
But that's, again, from a marketer point of view, that's a barrier. The nice thing about television was you had the 30-second spot. Everybody made 30-second spots. Done.
Well, you're talking about the last mile. The last mile could be very distributed, but from the brand or content distributor's perspective, it could be very unified. You could envision platforms that you create content in one location, and then that's distributed to your users among a plethora of channels.
What do you use I don't know how much discussion there's been of wearables here. I haven't been to all the sessions. What do you think about, say, the Apple Watch as a device? What do you use it for?
So mainly what I use it is to stay far away from my cell phone. I find that I get about 500, 600 notifications a day. And
on your phone?
On my phone. And between everything from Facebook Messenger to WhatsApp to Slack to the news, information's always constantly coming in. And we have this Pavlovian response to stop what we're doing in the real world and to go into our pocket or into our purses and see what was that vibration.
What's different? What do you get on your Apple Watch?
With my Apple Watch, I can quickly and efficiently determine what is the priority of this incoming notification, and then be able to determine whether or not I should interrupt my interaction with the real world to then jump into my virtual world. So now, instead of pausing every time I get a notification, I pretty much only pause if I got an SMS from my wife or a fire email or something equivalent.
So you're still getting all the same streams coming in, but how do you sort them out in that little teeny?
Well, it's as they're flowing in, the barrier of just taking a glance at your wrist is far lower than getting up or walking over to your desk and checking your phone.
Now, you're all cloud-based, right? So that means that you can watch all uses. You know a lot about what your users are. What's the typical use case for a Glide user today? Well,
it's primarily small groups of people that have pre-existing relationships. Okay. Family is a great use case. Couples is another great use case.
And what do they do? They'll just once a day, mom will get on and send a message to everybody. Hi, kids.
Actually, the average Glide user that's sending messages is sending 17 videos a day. So
what's the typical duration?
About 30 seconds. Okay. So what we see from that is that people really enjoy and become accustomed to video at the speed of texting. Right. It's more personal, it's more convenient, and it's easier to really express yourself through video, through face-to-face messaging, as opposed to typing with your thumbs.
Now, if Evan Spiegel were here, he'd say, well, Snapchat does that really easy, really fast. Why?
Snapchat's a fabulous product, but it's not exactly in the traditional communication utility space. Mm-hmm. And that's really the space that we're trying to own from the video messaging perspective. Snapchat does a great job at being able to share stories, being able to consume content, And the fact that all the messages just disappear also lowers people's barrier. But that's a very different use case than when you want to have a group chat with your family that maybe your mother's in Florida, your brother is in Albany, and your sister's in St. Louis. Everybody has children, and now how did the children maintain an impactful relationship with each other?
Now, I mean, many, I think WeChat, most of the messaging services do have a video component. How is what you do different from them?
Well, everybody else either goes for one or two directions. Either you have live video calling, which is very difficult to organize. It's something that happens at best on a weekly basis. For most people, it's on a monthly basis.
Skype.
Yes, Skype is a great example of that, Google's Hangouts. And then on the other end, you have store and forward, which is, you could consider that more like a video voicemail. If I'm going to record on iMessage a 1-minute video, or if I'm going to record on my phone a 3-minute video and then try and email that to you or WhatsApp that to you, it's going to take somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes before you can actually watch that on your phone. So that's not really a communication. That's kind of a cherry on top to another form of communication. It's almost an addition to text communication. But it's too slow to really be the kind of ping-pong, almost a video walkie-talkie, real-time experience that Glide provides.
So how do you market Glide?
It's mostly through word of mouth. Just friends that understand our value proposition and want to have close relationships with people in their life and bring those relationships closer will invite their friends and family to join the application and then create either one-on-one chats or group chats with their family and friends.
And if somebody were a brand, how would you, again, you've got the adoption problem. I mean, again, how do you, it's chicken and egg, obviously, but how do you get this, aside from coming here and talking to this crowd, how do you get Glide in front of the marketing world?
Well, so we've actually experimented internally with various VIP channels, which would allow content creators or influencers or brands to be able to build an audience and then communicate either in a massive message to the whole audience or one-off based on various criteria or segmentation of the audience. And so, again, it's very early, and we're a young company. We've been downloaded about 25 million times now, primarily in North America. So we have a long way to grow before we really capitalize on any type of VIP or brand-based channel.
An average of 17 a day.
Yep.
That's heavy usage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what we hear from our users is that they have pretty much abandoned text messaging. And what we're excited about...
Well, abandoned text messaging, at least to the people that are in their...
Absolutely. You're never going to kill text because it's so valuable for so many use cases, but it does have limitations that now we've overcome with advancements in technology.
What's the biggest single group of Glide users that you can see that talk to each other? I mean, are there companies that use it? How big can you get? Is there a limit?
Well, so the group chats are currently limited to 50 in a group chat, which we're expanding, I believe, to 200 in in upcoming weeks. And internally, what we use it as an organizational tool is we run all of our product meetings many of our product meetings and brainstorming sessions through Glide, which is, you can think of it like a long-winded or long-tailed video conference. So someone in San Francisco might wake up and then see an hour and a half of footage of a brainstorming session that came out of our marketing department or product department.
So those are not time limited.
Well, it's time limited to each individual message, but the total content is unlimited. And it doesn't take up any room on your phone, so you never have to worry about any storage constraints.
So this is technologically difficult, what you guys do.
It's actually the technology we've been working on for about 7 years now, and we released it as a consumer application a little over 2 years ago.
And do you see adoption? I mean, why don't you just get a brand to use it? Could you do that? Have you tried?
So we're still laser focused on the pure consumer-to-consumer play, but at the same time, we're open to doing some small tests, and that's really what we've been doing. I think one of the things that I heard from your previous interview is with OnePlus is that you have to be focused on what you're doing to really be able to excel at it.
So we all go to the App Store, and it's iOS, Android.
iOS, Android, and coming up, yeah.
Does the watch have its own store?
The watch does have its own store, right? But you do currently need a companion app on your phone.
How many Apple Watch users out there? We can't even see.
Anybody?
Not a whole ton, a few. All right. Well, on that cheerful note, we are out of time, so head over to the Apple Store or the Android Store and get yourself a Glide.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.